The sky above New Delhi was clear, but inside the United Nations building, things were anything but calm. Delegates from all over Earth had gathered for what many called the most important meeting in human history. Outside, crowds gathered, with signs that read, "Don't give in and we are not alone anymore." It had been 2 weeks since the Va'ari arrived. They came without warning, their massive ship appearing in orbit like it had always been there. No attack, no signal, just silence. Then came the message, translated by AI into every language on Earth. "We are the Va'ari Dominion. You are now known to us. Do not fear. We offer protection, knowledge, and peace." But not everyone believed them. Ethan Blake sat quietly at the back of the room, arms crossed, watching the debate unfold. He wasn't a politician or a scientist. He was a former Navy officer, now working as a defense advisor for the U.S. government. But ever since the Va'ari showed up, his job had changed completely. He listened as one delegate after another argued about what to do next. Some wanted to accept the Va'ari's offer. Others wanted to ask questions. A few wanted to say no altogether. Ethan didn't speak. Not yet. Outside, the world was watching. News channels broadcast live from cities around the globe. In Tokyo, people held candlelight vigils. In Berlin, scientists debated what this meant for human progress. In Nairobi, children asked their parents if aliens would be their new teachers. And in Washington, D.C., secret meetings were already happening behind closed doors. The Va'ari weren't the first alien species humanity had seen. There had been hints, strange signals, unexplained lights in the sky, ancient ruins that shouldn't have existed. But this was different. This was real. Their ship was unlike anything humans had ever built. It stretched across the sky like a mountain made of metal. Its surface shimmered, shifting colors like oil on water. It moved without sound, as if it ignored gravity itself. And then there were the Va'ari themselves. When they finally landed, they did so in style. Their shuttle descended slowly over New York City, escorted by fighter jets that looked tiny in comparison. People lined the streets, phones raised, trying to capture something that felt unreal. The Va'ari stepped out one by one, tall, pale beings with 4 eyes and smooth skin. They wore dark uniforms that looked like armor but moved like cloth. They didn't smile. They didn't speak. They just walked forward, followed by a team of translators and guards. A week later, they addressed the world through a global broadcast. Their leader, a Va'ari named Korvesh, spoke in perfect English, though it was clear the voice was generated by a machine. "Humanity has risen quickly. You have potential. We will guide you. With our help, you will grow strong. Without it, you may fall to those who are less kind." That was when Ethan knew the truth. This wasn't an offer. It was a test. Back at the UN, the debate dragged on. "We can't say no," said Ambassador Ramirez from Spain. "We don't know what they're capable of. But we also don't know what they want," replied Dr. Anika Patel, India's lead scientist. "They say they're here to help, but why now? Why us?" Ethan finally stood up, his voice cut through the noise. "They're testing us," he said simply. Everyone turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" Someone asked. "I've read the reports, watched the footage. They didn't come here to trade or make friends. They came to see how we'd react, to see if we're worth their time, or if we're just another weak species they can control." There was silence. "They gave us a choice," he continued. "Join them or be left alone. But left alone isn't freedom. It's isolation. It's waiting until they decide we're useful or dangerous." Dr. Patel nodded slowly. "You think they're planning something. I think we need to prepare," Ethan said, "for anything." Later that night, Ethan met with a small group of military leaders and scientists in a secure room beneath the Pentagon. They were the ones who had been quietly asking questions, running simulations, and studying everything they could about the Va'ari. Among them was Dr. Naomi Reed, a physicist from MIT who had helped design the early versions of Earth's orbital defense satellites. She leaned forward and placed a tablet on the table. On the screen was a rough sketch of a warship. "This," she said, is what we should be building. Ethan studied the image. It was big, bigger than any ship humans had ever made. A warship? He asked. A battleship, she corrected, or something like it. If we're going to stand a chance against them, we need to stop thinking like a planet and start thinking like a spacefaring species. One of the generals frowned. We don't even have the tech for half of this. Naomi smiled slightly. We do now. We just have to use what we've learned from their own ships and build something better. Ethan looked at her, then at the others around the table. You're serious. As a heart attack, Naomi said. Ethan sat back thinking. The Va'ari had given humanity a choice. Most of the world saw it as diplomacy, but Ethan saw it for what it was, a challenge, and now, maybe, humanity had found its answer. The plan was simple. Build a ship, not just any ship, a warship, a symbol, a weapon. Something that would show the galaxy that Earth wasn't ready to be ruled, but it couldn't happen in the open. Not yet, so they started small. Scientists began analyzing Va'ari technology recovered from debris found during the initial landing. Engineers sketched out designs based on what they could reverse engineer. Military planners reviewed every possible scenario. And deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, construction began. No one outside the inner circle knew. Not the press, not the public, not even most of the governments involved. Only a handful of people knew the truth. Earth was building something. The Va'ari wouldn't expect something powerful, something human, and it had a name. The Starfire. The project was given a code name, Operation Starfire. It was not just a military operation, it was a promise, a secret hope buried deep beneath the ocean waves, deep under the Pacific Ocean, hidden inside a massive underwater complex carved into the Mariana Trench. The real work began. At first, it was just a skeleton crew. Engineers, scientists, welders, and builders who had been hand-picked from around the world. Most didn't even know what they were building at first. They only knew one thing. This was important. Naomi Reed was the head scientist. She worked long hours, often forgetting to eat or sleep. Her mind was always racing with numbers, designs, and ideas. She had spent her life studying physics and space travel, but nothing had prepared her for this. This isn't just about building a ship, she told Ethan Blake during one of their early meetings. It's about proving we can do it ourselves, that we don't need them. Ethan nodded. He wasn't a scientist like Naomi, but he understood the importance of what they were doing. We build something strong, he said. Something fast, something that says we're here. And that's exactly what they did. The Starfire was unlike anything ever built on Earth. Its hull was made from a new alloy. A mix of titanium, carbon fiber, and parts recovered from Va'ari tech. It could take more damage than any human-made material before it. Inside, the ship used a hybrid power system, a fusion core built by humans, combined with energy cells reverse-engineered from Va'ari technology. It gave the Starfire almost unlimited power. Weapons were another challenge. Humans had never built weapons for space combat before. But now they had to, and they had to make them count. They started with railguns, massive guns that fired metal slugs at high speeds without needing explosive shells. Then came laser cannons, designed to shoot down enemy missiles and drones. The best minds on Earth helped to design these systems. Some worked in secret labs, others never left their homes, sending in designs and ideas through secure networks. Every part of the Starfire was built with one goal in mind: survival. But building a warship wasn't just about machines and science. It was also about people. A team of volunteers was gathered from all over the world. They came from different countries, spoke different languages, and had different backgrounds. But they all shared one thing: they believed in what they were doing. Among them was Lena Torres, a young engineer from California. She had grown up watching sci-fi movies and dreaming of space. Now she was helping build the real thing. I used to think this kind of stuff only happened in stories, she said one day while working on the engine room. Now I'm walking inside one. There was also Captain James Holloway, a retired naval officer who had flown fighter jets and commanded submarines. He was chosen to help train the crew and prepare them for combat. Then there was Marcus Cole, a mechanic from Texas who had once fixed oil rigs and now found himself welding parts. For a spaceship, you learn fast when you have to, he joked one day. I've already burned off 3 eyebrows, so progress. Despite the pressure, the team stayed focused. They worked hard, laughed often, and trusted each other completely, because they knew one thing. If the Va'ari ever returned looking for a fight, the Starfire might be Earth's only chance. The biggest challenge wasn't building the ship, it was keeping it a secret. No one outside the project could know. Not the press, not rival nations, not even most government leaders. Only a small group of people knew the full truth. To hide the project, the team used dummy projects and fake reports. They said they were building a new deep-sea research station. They claimed the site was for mining rare minerals. Every detail was planned to keep prying eyes away. Even so, rumors started to spread. In online forums, some people talked about strange activity near the Mariana Trench. In newsrooms, journalists asked questions no one wanted to answer. Still, the project moved forward. And then, one day, something went wrong. A drone operated by a private company got too close to the site. It sent back blurry images of the base. Someone leaked the data to an independent news blog. Within hours, the internet was buzzing. Is the U.S. building a secret spaceship? Underwater base found in Pacific. Are we preparing for war? The leak was quickly buried. The blog was taken offline. The drone operator was questioned and silenced, but the message was clear. Someone was watching, and not everyone liked secrets. Back at the base, the tension grew. We need to move faster, Naomi said during a meeting. If someone else finds us, we may not get a second chance, Ethan agreed. We start testing everything, weapons, engines, shields. If we're going to fly this thing, we need to know it works. Testing was risky. They couldn't risk launching the ship yet, so they ran simulations and small-scale tests. One test involved firing a railgun prototype at a target floating in the ocean. The shot was powerful enough to tear through steel. Another test tested the shield system. A small version of the shield was placed around a section of the hull. When hit with a controlled blast, it held strong. The results were promising, but not everything went smoothly. During one test, a power surge damaged part of the main control system. It took days to fix. Another time, a cooling line burst, flooding part of the engine room. Each problem was solved, but it reminded everyone how much they were risking. Still, they kept going. Because they believed. They believed that humanity deserved a chance, that Earth didn't have to bow to the stars, that humans could stand tall among the galaxies, and that the Starfire would prove it. As the final pieces fell into place, the crew began training in full. They learned how to operate the ship, how to fight, how to survive in space. James Holloway led drills every day. Lena Torres trained, others in engineering. Marcus Cole made sure the system stayed running, and Ethan watched it all, quietly proud. He knew the Va'ari would come back. When they did, Earth wouldn't be ready to fight. But maybe, just maybe, the Starfire would be. The Starfire was ready for its first full test. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in the secret base carved into the Mariana Trench, the crew gathered around control panels and monitors. Lights blinked, systems hummed. The massive ship sat in its launch bay like a sleeping beast. Naomi Reed stood near the main console, her hands shaking slightly. "This is it," she said to Ethan Blake. "If this works, we've built something real." Ethan looked at the screen showing the Starfire's status. Engines, green. Shields, online. Weapons, locked. Life support, stable. "Let's see what she can do," he said. He gave the order. "Start the engines." A deep, low rumble filled the base. The floor vibrated. Lights flickered. The Starfire came to life. Inside the ship, engineers checked every system. Lena Torres was in the engine room, watching the fusion core glow with blue light. "It's holding," she said through her headset. "Power levels are normal." On the bridge, James Holloway sat in the captain's chair. He had flown planes and commanded submarines, but nothing compared to this. "Systems check complete," he said. "We're good to go." Naomi pressed a button on the main console. "All systems report ready," she said. "Prepare for launch sequence." There was a pause. Then Ethan gave the final command. "Launch the Starfire." The base opened like a flower under the sea. Massive doors slid apart, letting water rush in. The Starfire slowly rose from its cradle, guided by magnetic lifts and thrusters. It broke the surface silently. Above, the sky was clear. The sun reflected off the ship's smooth hull. It looked like a blade of steel cutting through the ocean. People on nearby islands saw it rise. Some pointed and stared. Others took pictures. But no one knew what it really was. Only those who had built it understood. This was not just a ship, this was a message. The Starfire flew higher into the sky. As it passed through the clouds, Earth fell away below. The stars above were cold and distant, but the crew felt warm inside. They were flying. For the first time, humans had built a warship that could fight among the stars. James Holloway kept his eyes on the controls. "We're passing through the atmosphere," he said. "No issues so far." Lena Torres was still in the engine room watching the power levels. "She's handling better than I expected," she said. "Almost like she wants to fly." Naomi smiled. "She's not just metal and wires," she said. "She's us. She's everything we've learned, everything we've built." Ethan stood near the window looking out at space. "I hope we don't have to use her," he said quietly. "But if we do," Naomi replied, "we'll be ready." Back on Earth, news spread fast. Satellites picked up the Starfire's flight path. Radar stations tracked its movement. Governments scrambled to find answers. In Washington, D.C., officials held emergency meetings. "Is this a test?" someone asked. "No," another replied. "This is real." In Moscow and Beijing, military leaders watched closely. "Did they build this alone?" one general asked. "If they did," another said, "then we need to know how." Across the world, people talked about what they had seen. Some feared it meant war. Others hoped it meant freedom. And somewhere in deep space, the Va'ari watched too. Korvesh, their leader, sat in his command chamber aboard the Va'ari flagship. He looked at the image of the human ship. "Interesting," he said. One of his advisors stepped forward. "They launched a vessel without asking permission," the advisor said. "They ignored our warnings." Korvesh tilted his head. "They built it themselves," he said. "Without our help. That is rare." Another Va'ari spoke. "They are weak. They cannot challenge us." Korvesh turned to face him. "Weak or clever?" He studied the image again. "They are not like the others. They think differently. They act without fear." He leaned back. "Watch them, learn from them, and prepare." Back on the Starfire, the crew ran more tests. They fired the railguns for the first time. Massive slugs shot out at incredible speed, tearing through target drones like paper. They tested the shield system by simulating enemy fire. The shields held strong. They even tried using the ship's AI to control some systems remotely. It worked better than expected. Every success made the team more confident. They weren't just building a ship anymore. They were building a future. When the Starfire returned to Earth, it landed in a remote area in Nevada. No crowds, no cameras, no speeches, just a quiet landing and a few trucks waiting to meet them. But word got out. Photos appeared online. Videos were shared. People started asking questions. What was that thing? Who built it? Are we going to war? The government denied everything. But Ethan and Naomi didn't care. They had done what they set out to do. They had proven that humans could build something powerful, something that could stand tall among the stars. Later that night, Ethan stood outside the base looking up at the sky. Naomi joined him. "You think they'll come back?" she asked. "I know they will," Ethan said. "They're watching, waiting." Naomi crossed her arms. "And when they do?" Ethan smiled. "We show them what humans can do." Naomi nodded. We don't back down. No, Ethan said. We don't. Because the Starfire wasn't just a ship. It was proof. Proof that humanity could rise, that humans could dream big, and that when the stars looked down at Earth, they would see something new, not just a planet, but a force, a Battlestar built by humans. The Va'ari came back. This time, they didn't arrive quietly. Their fleet appeared in Earth's orbit like a storm rolling in. Massive ships shaped like blades, glowing with energy. They moved in perfect formation, silent and deadly. People, all over the world, looked up at the sky and felt fear crawl down their spines, not because they saw aliens, but because they knew what those ships meant. They were here to remind Earth who was in charge. Back in Washington, D.C., leaders scrambled. The United Nations called an emergency meeting. Military bases went on high alert. And deep in Nevada, Ethan Blake stood beside Naomi Reed inside a hidden command center. They're not here to talk, Ethan said, watching the live feed from satellites. Naomi crossed her arms. Then we show them we're not here to bow. The Va'ari sent a message. It was broadcast across every major channel, in every language. Earth, you have tested your limits. We warned you. You ignored us. Now you will explain yourself. Governments debated what to do. Some wanted to send diplomats, others wanted to hide. A few whispered about surrender. Ethan and his team had another idea. They loaded the Starfire onto a massive transport and moved it to a launch site in the South Pacific. The plan was simple. Rise, meet the Va'ari, and show them that Earth wasn't afraid. No weapons drawn, no threats made, just a message. We are not yours, and we will not be ruled. The Starfire launched at dawn. Its engines roared to life, breaking the silence of the morning. It rose fast, cutting through clouds and air until it reached space. Inside, the crew was tense but ready. James Holloway sat on the bridge, eyes fixed ahead. Clear sky, he said. No enemy fire yet. Lena Torres monitored the engine room. She's holding strong, she reported. Power level's good. Naomi Reed worked on the comm system, trying to get a direct line to the Va'ari flagship. They're scanning us, she said, trying to figure out what we are. Ethan stood near the main screen. Let them look, he said. They'll see soon enough. The Starfire reached orbit. It hovered just outside the Va'ari fleet, alone and unafraid. The alien ship surrounded it like wolves around a lone wolf. A voice came through the speakers. Corvesh. His tone was calm, almost amused. Human ship. You are not registered. You are not authorized. You are not welcome. Ethan stepped forward and pressed the transmit button. This is Captain Ethan Blake of the Starfire. We come in peace. But we are not leaving. There was a pause. Then Corvesh spoke again. You built this vessel without our help. Impressive. But foolish. Ethan smiled slightly. We don't need your help, he said. We've got ours. Another pause. Then Corvesh laughed, a cold, distant sound. You think you can challenge us? Your species is young, weak. You play with tools you do not understand. Ethan didn't flinch. We understand enough, he said. We built something you didn't expect, something made by humans, for humans. He looked at James. Time to show them what we've got. The Starfire moved. It didn't attack. It didn't run. It showed off. It fired its railguns, not at anything, just into open space. The slugs shot forward with incredible speed, tearing through nothing but showing power. Then it turned on its shield system. Energy rippled around the hull, forming a shimmering barrier. The Va'ari watched. Some ships moved closer, scanning the Starfire with their sensors. One Va'ari frigate broke formation and approached slowly. It stopped just a short distance away. Then, without warning, it opened fire. A single beam of blue light lashed out. It struck the Starfire's shield. The shield held. Ethan barely blinked. Return fire, he ordered. The Starfire answered. One shot. A railgun round flew toward the Va'ari frigate. It hit dead center. The alien ship exploded in a flash of fire and debris. Silence filled the comms. Then Korvesh's voice came back. "You dare strike one of my ships?" Ethan stared at the screen. "You fired first," he said simply. The Va'ari fleet shifted, ships rotated, weapons powered up. Everyone on the Starfire braced for battle. Then Korvesh spoke again. "You are bold. That I will admit." Another pause. "But boldness does not win wars." Ethan took a breath. "No," he said. "But courage does." He looked at James. "Get us home." James nodded. The Starfire turned and sped away, leaving the Va'ari fleet behind. As it re-entered Earth's atmosphere, the entire world watched. What they saw changed everything. A human warship had faced down an alien armada and lived. More than that, it had fought back and won. Back on Earth, the reaction was instant. News channels replayed footage of the Starfire in space. People cheered in the streets. Scientists rushed to study the data. In Washington, military leaders met in secret. In Moscow and Beijing, leaders watched closely. In Nairobi and Tokyo, children talked about becoming engineers or pilots. And in the stars? The Va'ari were watching too. Korvesh stood in his command chamber looking at the data from the battle. "The human ship," he said. "It is unlike any other we have seen." His advisor stepped forward. "They are dangerous," the advisor said. "We should destroy them before they grow stronger." Korvesh shook his head. "No," he said. "We watch. We learn." He looked at the image of the Starfire. "They may be small," he said, "but they are not weak." He turned to face his crew. "They are something new." Then he added almost to himself, "Perhaps even dangerous." On the Starfire, the crew celebrated in quiet. They hadn't won a war, but they had won something else. Respect, fear, and maybe, just maybe, hope. Because now the galaxy knew humans were no longer just a planet. They were a force, and the Starfire was only the beginning. The battle over Earth was short, but its effects were huge. Across the galaxy, alien species heard about what happened, some through official channels, others through rumors passed between traders and travelers. But one message was clear. The humans had fought back, and they had won. In the Va'ari Dominion, leaders gathered in secret chambers carved into the stone of their homeworld. Ships hovered above cities like dark clouds, waiting for orders. Korvesh stood at the head of the meeting. He looked at the reports. The human vessel showed advanced combat capability. Its weapons exceeded expectations. Its commander refused to submit. One of the Va'ari generals spoke. "They are dangerous," he said. "They must be crushed before they grow stronger." Another general shook his head. "No," she said. "We must understand them first." Korvesh raised a hand. "The humans are not like the others," he said. "They do not fear us. They do not beg for peace. They fight." He looked around the room. "We have seen many species rise," he continued. "Most fall quickly, some survive by serving. But these humans, they stand on their own." There was silence. Then Korvesh made a decision. "We watch them. We learn, and if needed, we prepare." Back on Earth, life changed fast. The Starfire became a symbol. People painted murals of it on city walls. Songs were written about its flight. Children wore toy versions of its crew uniforms. Governments met in secret to discuss what came next. Some wanted to build more ships. Others wanted to send diplomats to other alien races. A few still believed Earth should stay out of space politics. But the people, they wanted more ships, more power, more freedom, and most of all, they wanted to be ready, because everyone knew something now. The Va'ari wouldn't forget. Ethan Blake returned to Nevada, where the Starfire was being repaired and upgraded. Reporters followed him. Cameras flashed, But Ethan avoided the spotlight. He didn't care about fame. He cared about what came next. Naomi Reed met him outside the base. "You saw the news?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "I read it," he said. "The Va'ari are watching us closely." Naomi crossed her arms. "And other aliens too," she added. "Some want to talk, some want to trade. One even sent a message asking for help." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Help with what?" Naomi smiled slightly. "Beating the Va'ari." Ethan let that sink in. For years, humanity had been the underdog, the new kid on the block, the small voice in a galaxy full of giants. Now some of those giants were looking to Earth for hope. It was strange, but exciting. Inside the base, work never stopped. Engineers worked day and night, improving the Starfire's systems. Scientists studied Va'ari tech recovered from the battle. Pilots trained for possible future fights. Lena Torres was promoted to lead engineer. She spent her days checking every system, making sure the Starfire stayed strong. One day, she found Ethan walking through the engine room. "You ever think we'd be here?" she asked. Ethan looked around. "A year ago?" "No," he said. "I thought I'd be sitting in a quiet office somewhere, reading reports no one reads." Lena laughed. "But now," Ethan smiled. "Now we're building a future." Lena nodded. "That's what this ship is," she said. "A future. Not just for us, but for anyone who wants to be free." Ethan looked at her. "You think we can change the galaxy?" Lena shrugged. "Maybe not all of it," she said, "but maybe enough of it." On the Starfire's bridge, James Holloway sat in the captain's chair. He watched reports come in from around the world. "People are calling you a hero," Lena said when she walked in. James shook his head. "I'm just doing my job," he said. Lena leaned against the wall. "What do you think happens next?" James looked out the window at the stars beyond. "I think we've only just begun," he said. "The Va'ari aren't done with us, and neither are the rest of the galaxy." He turned to face her. "This war isn't over," he said. "It's just getting started." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other species reacted in different ways. On a rocky moon near the edge of Va'ari space, a group of rebels gathered in a hidden base. They were called the Luthari, once ruled by the Va'ari, now fighting for freedom. Their leader, a woman named Mirasol, watched footage of the Starfire battling in space. Her second-in-command stepped forward. "They defeated one of their ships," he said. "That's unheard of." Mira nodded. "It proves something," she said, "that the Va'ari can be beaten." She looked at her team. "If the humans could do it alone," she said, "imagine what we could do with their help." She sent a message. It traveled through deep space, bouncing off old satellites and hidden relays. It reached Earth, and it said only one thing: "We need to talk." Back in Washington, D.C., the message was received. Officials debated what to do. Should they respond? Should they share technology? Should they get involved in alien wars? No one had the answers. But one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer just a planet. They were players in a much bigger game, and the galaxy was watching. The message from the Luthari rebels had been clear. "We need to talk." Ethan Blake read it again, sitting in the command center beneath the Nevada desert. Naomi Reed stood beside him, arms crossed, eyes serious. "They want our help," she said. Ethan nodded. "And they're not the only ones." In the weeks after the Starfire's first battle with the Va'ari, more messages had come in. Some were warnings. Others were requests for trade or knowledge. But this one was different. It was a call for help. The Luthari had been fighting the Va'ari for years. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and running out of time. Their last base was on a moon near Epsilon Eridani, what humans called Epsilon Prime. Now the Va'ari were closing in, and the Luthari were asking Earth to send the Starfire. Naomi looked at Ethan. "If we go," she said, "we might not come back." Ethan didn't look away from the screen. "I know," he said, "but if we don't, they'll be wiped out." They met with the crew that night. James Holloway sat on the edge of a table, arms folded. "This is a war mission," he said. "Not a test, not a show, a real fight." Lena Torres leaned forward. "We can do it," she said. The Starfire is ready. We've trained for this. Marcus Cole, the ship's lead mechanic, chuckled. Yeah, but training ain't the same as real. Bullets flying. There was silence. Then Ethan stood up. No, he said. But we don't leave people behind. Not anymore. He looked around the room. So what do you say? Are we doing this? A pause. Then one by one they answered. Yes. Yes. Let's go. Ethan smiled. Then we fly. The Starfire launched under cover of darkness. Its engines roared as it broke through the clouds and into space. It traveled fast, slipping past Va'ari patrols using hidden routes mapped by rebel spies. 3 days later, it arrived at Epsilon Prime. The sight was grim. Dozens of Va'ari ships surrounded the small moon. Fighters zipped through space like angry bees. On the surface, the Luthari base was under constant attack. Ethan stood on the bridge. They've got them trapped, he said. James studied the readings. We're badly outnumbered, he said. If we go in head-on, we won't last 5 minutes. Naomi tapped on her console. But maybe we don't have to fight fair, she said. She turned to Ethan. We lure them, she said. Make them think we're just here to negotiate. Let them lower their guard. Ethan thought for a moment. Good plan, he said. But we need more. Lena raised her hand. What if we use the debris field, she asked. Everyone turned to her. What debris field, James asked. Lena pointed to a patch of space filled with broken ships and asteroid chunks. The old battlefield, she said. Looks like a graveyard. Perfect place to hide. Naomi's eyes lit up. She's right, she said. We can use it to ambush them. Ethan smiled. Then let's make some noise. The Starfire moved slowly toward the Va'ari fleet. It sent out an open signal. This is Captain Ethan Blake of the Starfire. I come in peace. I wish to speak with the Luthari. The Va'ari responded quickly. Corvesh himself appeared on the comms. You return, human? Have you come to surrender? Ethan kept his face calm. No, he said. I came to talk. Corvesh laughed. Talk? About what? Ethan glanced at Lena. About peace, he said. The Va'ari ships began to move closer. Some lowered their weapons. Others started scanning the Starfire. They didn't see the trap, because as soon as the Va'ari fleet focused on the Starfire, the ship turned hard and fired its thrusters. It dove straight into the debris field. Behind it, the Va'ari followed. One ship, then another, then all of them. Inside the Starfire, the crew sprang into action. Naomi activated the targeting system. Locking onto enemy ships, she said. James gave the order. All weapons hot. Fire when ready. Railguns roared to life. Slugs tore through the airless void, slamming into Va'ari ships. Explosions lit up the dark like fireworks. The Va'ari were confused. They tried to regroup, but the Starfire was faster. It darted between asteroids, firing again and again. Then something went wrong. An enemy beam struck the side of the ship. Alarms blared. Shields down to 60%, someone shouted. Engine damage, Lena yelled from the engine room. Ethan grabbed the mic. Lena, what's happening? She worked fast, checking the power lines. We lost a coolant line, she said. If we don't fix it now, the reactor could overload. Naomi looked at Ethan. We need time. Ethan made a decision. James, take us deeper into the field, he said. Keep them busy. James nodded. Aye, sir. The Starfire twisted through the debris, dodging fire. Inside the engine room, Lena worked like a machine. She crawled through tight spaces, fixed wires, rerouted power. Her hands burned. Her suit was torn, but she didn't stop. Finally, she hit the reset button. The engine hummed back to life. Power's stable, she shouted. We're good to go, Naomi grinned. That girl saved the ship. Back on the bridge, Ethan looked at the radar. The Va'ari fleet was scattered. One ship was already destroyed. Another was limping away. He pressed the mic. This is Captain Blake, he said. To all Va'ari ships, leave the system now. For a moment there was silence. Then Corvesh's voice came back. You are bold, human. But this is not over. The Va'ari ships pulled back. One by one, They left the battlefield. As the last ship disappeared into warp, the Starfire crew cheered. They had done it. They had fought the Va'ari and won. On the Luthari moon, the survivors came out of hiding. Mirasol stepped onto the comms. "This is Mirasol of the Luthari rebels," she said. "Thank you, Captain Blake. You saved us." Ethan looked at the screen. "You're welcome," he said. "But this isn't the end." Mira nodded. "No," she said. "It's the beginning." Outside, the stars shone bright, and somewhere far away, the Va'ari watched, waiting, learning, and planning. Because the galaxy had changed, humans had proven they could fight, that they could win. And now, the war had truly begun. The battle at Epsilon Prime changed everything. Across the galaxy, news spread fast. Not just through official channels, but through traitors, spies, and rebels who whispered stories over drinks in dark corners of spaceports. The humans fought back. They beat the Va'ari. They didn't ask for help. They gave it. On Earth, the mood was electric. People celebrated in the streets. Murals of the Starfire appeared on city walls. Songs were written about the brave crew who had gone into space and returned as heroes, but not everyone saw it as a victory. In Washington, D.C., leaders met behind closed doors. "We can't keep doing this alone," one general said. "We need allies. We need more ships." Another shook his head. "We're moving too fast," he argued. "If we push too hard, the Va'ari will come back with everything they've got." Ethan Blake sat quietly, listening. He knew what they were really arguing about. Fear. Fear of what came next. Because now, humanity wasn't just watching the stars. They were part of them. Back at the hidden base in Nevada, Naomi Reed worked late, into the night. She sat at her desk, surrounded by reports, blueprints, and messages from across the galaxy. Some were from alien species offering trade. Others were from rebels asking for help. A few were warnings, some even from former Va'ari colonies saying the Dominion was getting angry. Naomi rubbed her eyes. "This is bigger than we thought," she said to Lena Torres, who was checking the ship's systems. Lena nodded. "I know," she said. "We built one ship. Now the whole galaxy wants more." Naomi smiled slightly. "Well," she said, "maybe it's time we gave them something." The Starfire became a symbol, not just of war, but of hope. Other species began reaching out to Earth, wanting to learn how humans had built such a powerful ship. Some wanted to copy its design. Others wanted to trade knowledge or technology. One species, the Virex, sent a message. "We once served the Va'ari. Now we want to stand beside you." The Virex were tall, insect-like beings who lived on a planet covered in forests and rivers. They had never fought the Va'ari directly, but they had suffered under their rule. Now, they offered something rare: peace. And in return, they asked only one thing: to learn. Ethan agreed. He invited a small group of Virex scientists to visit Earth. They arrived on a quiet morning, stepping off their ship with cautious steps. James Holloway greeted them. "You're welcome here," he said. One of the Virex stepped forward. His name was Tarek Vex. "We have watched your kind," he said. "You are unlike others we have seen." Ethan nodded. "That's because we don't follow orders," he said. "We build our own path." Tarek looked around. "And now you share that path?" Ethan smiled. "Maybe not all of it," he said, "but enough to make a difference." Meanwhile, back at the base, work continued on new designs. Naomi and her team started planning the next generation of human warships. They called it the Battlestar line. Unlike the Starfire, which was built in secret, these ships would be built openly in orbit above Mars. The first one was named Dawn's Edge. Lena Torres was chosen to lead its engineering team. At first, she was surprised. "Me?" she asked. "I'm still learning." Naomi laughed. "That's why you're perfect," she said. "You're not stuck in old ways. You think like the future." Lena smiled. "Well, I guess I can try." As Earth prepared for what came next, the Va'ari remained silent. No attack, no message, just silence. But Ethan knew better. "They're watching," he told James one night. James nodded. "They're waiting," he said, "trying to figure out if we're a threat or a lesson." Ethan looked up at the sky. "Either way," he said, "we're not going back." James followed his gaze. "No," he agreed. "We're just getting started." The changes didn't stop in space. On Earth, people began thinking differently. Schools added new classes on space travel and alien cultures. Scientists worked together like never before. Even governments started sharing secrets they once kept, locked away. Humanity was no longer just a single planet. It was becoming something more, a force in the stars, a voice in the galaxy, and most importantly, a choice. Not to serve, not to hide, but to rise. Back on the Starfire, Ethan stood on the bridge looking out at the stars. Lena walked in. "You okay?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "I was just thinking," he said, "about how far we've come." Lena leaned against the wall. "And how far we have to go." Ethan smiled. "Yeah," he said, "but we're not alone anymore." Outside, the stars burned bright. Somewhere out there, other ships were being built. Other voices were rising. And somewhere, the Va'ari were watching, waiting, learning, and maybe afraid, because the galaxy had changed. And the humans? They weren't done yet. Years passed. The Starfire was no longer just a ship. It had become a symbol of courage, of strength, of what humans could do when they worked together. And now, it was time for more. Above Mars, the first true human shipyard began to take shape. It floated in space like a city made of steel and hope. Engineers from Earth, scientists from other worlds, and workers who once dreamed of space now built it with their own hands. The new class of ships was called the Battlestar line. Unlike the Starfire, which had been built in secret, these ships were built proudly, openly, for all to see. They were faster, stronger, smarter, and they carried one message: humanity was here to stay. Lena Torres stood on the bridge of the Dawn's Edge, the second ship in the Battlestar line. She wasn't just an engineer anymore. She was chief engineer of the most advanced human warship ever built. The Dawn's Edge looked like a blade of light against the stars. Its hull was sleek, its weapons powerful, and its core ran on a fusion reactor that never needed refueling. Lena walked through the halls checking every system. "You look nervous," said Marcus Cole, her old friend and now head mechanic. "I'm not nervous," Lena said. "Just excited." Marcus laughed. "Sure you are," he said. "You're running the most advanced ship in history. Of course you're excited." Lena smiled. "I just keep thinking about where we started," she said. "Back in Nevada, in that base under the ocean. We were just a handful of people trying to build something real." Marcus nodded. "And now?" he asked. Lena looked out the window at the stars. "Now we're building a whole fleet." On Earth, Ethan Blake watched the launch of the Dawn's Edge from a small room in Washington, D.C. He didn't wear a uniform anymore. He had stepped back from command years ago, but he still helped guide humanity's place in space. Naomi Reed sat beside him. "They're doing well," she said. "Better than I thought." Ethan nodded. "We gave them a chance," he said, "and they took it." Naomi looked at him. "What now?" she asked. Ethan smiled. "Now we teach others how to do the same." Across the galaxy, more species reached out. Some wanted trade, others wanted protection. A few even asked for help building their own ships. One of those was the Luthari. Mira Sol, their leader, sent a message to Earth. "We want our own Battlestar, one built by us. With your help." Ethan read the message and smiled. "Let's give them what we gave ourselves," he said. "A chance." Naomi agreed. So Earth sent engineers, teachers, and pilots to help the Luthari build their own warship. It was named the Free Dawn, and when it launched into space, it flew side by side with the Dawn's Edge. 2 ships, 2 species, 1 mission: to protect the stars from those who would control them. Not all meetings were peaceful. Some alien nations feared what humanity was becoming. They saw the Battlestar line as a threat. In secret, some met to discuss ways to stop it. But others saw something different. They saw hope. They saw proof that even the smallest species could rise, and they wanted to join. The Virex, the insect-like beings who had first come to Earth, offered their own support. They shared knowledge of Va'ari tactics and battle strategies. Their leader, Tarek Vex, spoke at the United Nations. "We once lived in fear," he said. "Now we stand beside a species that taught us courage." His voice echoed across the world, and for the first time humans weren't just learning from aliens. They were teaching them. Back at the Mars shipyard, more Battlestars were being built. Each one was unique. Some were designed for speed, others for power, but all carried the same goal: to protect freedom in space. Lena stood beside Marcus as they watched the third ship being assembled. "It's weird," Marcus said. "I used to fix oil rigs, now I help build spaceships." Lena grinned. "Well, welcome to the future." Marcus looked around. "Do you think we'll ever stop?" Lena shook her head. "No," she said. "We're just getting started." On Earth, a statue was built in New York City. It showed the starfire rising from the ocean, surrounded by stars. At its base were 4 simple words. "Humans do not bow." People came from all over to see it. Children touched it and dreamed of flying. Old soldiers looked at it and remembered the day everything changed. And somewhere far away, in deep space, a Va'ari scout ship passed by. Its captain, Kor Vesh, looked at the image of the statue. He turned to his crew. "They are not weak," he said. "They are not afraid." He paused. "They are something new." Then he added quietly, "And maybe something dangerous." As the sun set over Earth, the stars above burned brighter. Humanity had gone from a single planet to a force among the stars. And the Battlestar line, that was only the beginning, because now the galaxy knew humans didn't just survive. They built, they fought, and they rose. Together.